Okay, hello again. This is Miss Rhonda, and this is our fifth week, and this is our Tuesday session of the fifth week. So I hope everyone is doing well, and let's go ahead and start with our session. So as you can see here, this is the reading. So we're going today to talk about the reading. So here the reading is there are different ways of reaching or handling a reading text. So here we're going to take a look first at the title and try to think of uh, what is this article or what is this text going to talk about. And then we're going to skim the article to find quickly to skim here. This means to read quickly to find the answer to a very general question that you don't have to read in details. After that, we're going to discuss together the difficult vocabulary, and we're going to guess their meanings from the context. Just like we learned before that any word I need to understand its meaning from the context, because it could have different meanings in different contexts. So in order to get the right meaning, you need to get it in its context. So let's go ahead and start. So here we are going to take a look at the title. The title here is called The Wrong Stuff. So it is not the right stuff. So this is like a play of words, because our title in the unit was called The Right Stuff, because we were talking about successful stories of companies. So from the name of the title here, you can think about that we're going to talk about some failures of some successful companies, or some setbacks of some successful companies. So here, that's why we said the wrong stuff. So now, just like what we did now, we guessed the meaning, or we guessed what is the article going to talk about just from the title. Then we're going to look at the picture and the first sentence of the article, and then we are going to skim quickly and find an answer to this question: why is market research important to companies that want to sell their product internationally? So here, market research, this means that I need to search the market. If for example I'm going to advertise a product in Egypt, so I need to know the culture, I need to know what does the market need, how does how do the people think, how do they react to different products, because sometimes some culture cross happens, that when a company like Pepsi advertises in a different way in a different country, because each country has their own jargon, or has their own way of thinking, and different things can mean different has different meanings in different countries. So we are going to take a look here, why is market research important to companies. So if we're going to read this part, to skim quickly, so let's read it together. Okay, so here he is telling us that market research is important because some large American companies had made the mistake of not making a market research, and that made them fall into these different problems that we are going to discuss, different problems for a variety of companies. So it is not just one company. So, and you're going to see for yourself how that market research is very important before you sell your product internationally, because just like we said that we have uh, uh, we have some expressions or some body languages that mean different in each country. So each one has their own traditions. So in order to sell your products, you need to understand this culture, and you need to understand this tradition in order to reach your audience. Okay, so we have here different companies. So let's just read the titles quickly. What's in a name? And translation problems, a picture's worth a thousand words, and twist of fate. So before we read, of course you're gonna read alone this and then we're going to answer the question. So I'm just going to highlight some vocabularies that it might be difficult for you to understand. So let's take a look. We have here the first word is learn the hard way. When you learn something the hard way, this means that you made a mistake and the consequences was very difficult. That's how you learn. So we say in life that you learn by making mistakes. So the hard way here is that there is a lot of things happen to you, and there is big mistakes. You've done big mistakes, and of course you suffered a lot of consequences. So after that you will never make that mistake again. So for example, if there is a student who didn't study well in his exam and failed, so it's the failing here, this is a hard way of telling him next time to study hard. We have also different examples. And then here, what's in a name? So we have a word here, overlooked. So before we translate or before we give a meaning to this word, we're going, just like we talked about, we find the context. We try to get the meaning from the context. So let's try to read the sentence and try to think of its meaning and deduce it. So sometimes the problem is the name. When General Motors introduced its Chevy Nova into Latin America, it overlooked the fact that no va in Spanish means it doesn't go. So overlooked here, this means that they didn't realize it was important, so they overlooked it. So this means that they didn't notice it, or they didn't give it much importance. So here this means that a name can change the whole campaign of a product, because they missed it here when they made this product in Latin America. Latin America means the, the 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 word, sorry, the name of the car that they wanted to sell there was called the Chevy Nova. So Nova here, if we take the no and va together, alone, sorry, this means no va in Spanish means that it doesn't go. So this is something that can ruin a company and ruin its sales rating. So then we have here translation problems. We have literally. So again, let's read its meaning. Let's read the sentence. The campaign was so successful in the United States that Pepsi translated its slogan literally for its international campaign. So when I translate literally, just like if you all using Google Translate, sometimes the meaning or the word has like a variety of meanings, and you're not supposed uh, to translate something literally. So literally here means that you translated word by word, or the basic meaning. You didn't add in the translation the deduced meaning or the meaning in the context. So as it turned out, the translation weren't quite right. So as it turned out here, as it turned out, this means that as it happened, or as people find out at the end, that this translation weren't quite right, or as it appeared. So Pepsi was pleading with Germans to come out of the grave and telling the Chinese that Pepsi brings your ancestors back from the grave. So come alive with Pepsi here. This is a campaign slogan that changed everything for Pepsi, and it was, of course, they learned it the hard way. It was a very interesting and somehow funny failure, because they translated literal meanings. So bleeding here, this means that they are asking them, or asking the Germans, asking someone, when you bleed, this means that you ask with emotions, just like uh, the kid bleeded for his father to give him that toy. So he bleeds, please daddy, get me that toy. This is just when you bleed, you actually beg, or you ask, and you have some kind of emotions involved. So here, a picture is worth 1,000 words. We have here another word is countless. Let's read its sentence. A picture of a smiling, round-cheeked baby has helped sell countless jars of Gerber baby food. So Gerber or Gerber baby food. So countless here means that uh, a lot to count. So this means that many of them. So countless, this means that it is hard to count. So this means that it has a lot or many of them. That it's a lot to count. Okay. So here we have again, just like we talked about the different vocabulary, I want you to read all of the text again after we explained the meanings. I'm going to change the slide now to take a look at the meanings again of the vocabulary if you didn't get anything, because you will find the meanings here written, which you can come back to them at any time if you missed something, or if you found any other words that it is difficult for you in the text, you can always use a dictionary. So let's move on. After we take a look at this, so I want you to come back again to this slide and read it after we check the questions. So let's move on. So here we have the vocabulary we discussed. We said learn the hard way. This means that had a lot of difficulty before you learn something. Just we gave an example. Translated literally, that you translate word by word to the basic meaning, not the context meaning, which is very crucial in translation. Countless here, too many to be counted. Overlook, when you overlook something, this means that you don't realize how something is important and you don't notice, you don't give it as much importance. When you bleed, this means you ask for something in an urgent way. Please, you are bleeding or begging. Turn out, something happened in unexpected ways, just like we said, as it turned out. So let's move on and take a look at the questions. Before we take a look at the questions, we have here true, false, and not given. I'm going to read the questions with you, and I want you to go back to the other slides or open your books in Unit 12 and read the reading text before you answer this true or false. So we're going to read them together. So you're going to read the article, then for each sentence you're going to check, is it true or false or not given. Okay, so I'm gonna read them with you, and then I'm gonna give you the correct answer at the end. So number one, General Motors did a lot of research before naming the Chevy Nova. Is it true, false, or not given? Number two, the Come Alive with Pepsi campaign worked well in the US. Number three, Pepsi still sold well in Germany and China. Number four, Gerber changed its packaging after the problem in Africa. Number five, the problem for Rivolin was the name Camela. Rivolin. Number six, Rivolin no longer sells cosmetics in Brazil. And here we are going to look at the marketing problems below. In each situation, was the problem related to the product name or the slogan? If it's for the name, we're gonna write N. If it's the problem with the slogan, we're gonna write S. So here, number one, the Ford Fiara didn't sell well in Spain, where Fiara means ugly old woman. So this means that they didn't sell well because of the name. So we had a problem with the name, because again this is culture and translating from language to another. Fiara here means an ugly old woman. So this means that nobody will buy a car which is old. Number two, Braniff Airlines Fly in Leather campaign was meant to promote its comfortable new seats. In Spanish, the company was telling passengers to fly with no clothes on. This is somehow funny here, because again we have a translation problem. But here we are talking about the problem is in the slogan, not the name. So the slogan here is fly in leather. It was translated wrong, which means that when it was translated in Spanish, it meant that fly with no clothes on. So of course this campaign was not successful. So we're going here to take a look at these sentences, and I'm going to answer with you after you read. Please read and answer. Just don't wait for the answer right away. Just read it and answer it by yourself, then come back and check. Okay, number one, General Motors did a lot of research before naming the Chevy Nova. That is of course false, because that was a big problem for them. The Come Alive with Pepsi campaign worked well in the US. Yes, this is true. Pepsi still sold well in Germany and China. This is not given, they didn't say anything about that. Gerber changed its packaging after the problem in Africa. Again, here we have not given because it is not included in the text, or they didn't mention it in the text. Number 5, the problem for Revolin was the name Camila. 5, this is also false. Revolin no longer sells cosmetic in Brazil. This is false. It was just a setback, but they are already selling again. Okay, after we discussed the reading text and we discussed the answers and the questions and answers, so we're gonna move on to something else. We're gonna move on to the let's see in the next slide. Okay, in this unit we talked about different vocabulary of talking about successful companies, and different ways of talking about success and failure in companies. So it will be good for you to add to your knowledge some idioms or expressions that people use that means success, or means that you failed something or you succeeded at something. So we have some expressions here that I want you to take a look at them, and I want you to try to use them in your speech. So we have the first one. I think some of you heard it before, is when you ace a test. Ace here, this means that you know the ace in the card. This means that you will be number one. So when you ace a test, this means that you get a high score. So ace usually related to being number one. So for example, if you ace your English test, you can go to the party, said the parent. When you ace something, this means that you get a high score. Number 2, have the world at your feet. When you have the world at your feet, this from its meaning that sometimes we can say this also in Arabic. You have the world at your feet, this means that you are very successful and you have everything you need. So extremely successful and greatly admired. This is usually with celebrities. We usually say for celebrities they have the world at their feet. So for example, the talented young actress has the world at her feet. Let's move on. Okay, here we have another expression, is be dead in the water. So from its name here, when you are in something is dead in the water, this means that it is unsuccessful, or there is no possibility for this to rise again or be successful again. So be dead in the water. So let's read it together. So when you be dead in the water, something is unsuccessful and impossible to be successful soon. For example, the whole economy in the US now is dead in the water because of the coronavirus, of course. And here also we have another word that means failure, dead loss. When there's something dead loss, this means that it is useless and unsuccessful again. So it is something means that absolutely unsuccessful or useless. For example, when it comes to math, my sister is a dead loss. This means that there is no hope for her, that she already hates math and she doesn't answer well in math. So she's a dead loss. So uh, there is no coming back from that, as we say. Okay, let's move on. Here, make the cut. When someone makes the cut, this means that you succeed at something. So she worked hard to make the cut in the competition. This means that to succeed or to get into the competition and succeed there. She worked hard to make the cut in the competition. Then we have riding high, enjoying a period of success. They are riding high. Just from its name, riding high, so this means just like riding a horse very high. This means that you are in the sky or in the clouds. This means that your rating, your success rate is very high at this point or for a period of time. So, for example, Oppo has been riding high in the market of smartphones. Oppo is becoming very popular now in selling phones and also with affordable prices. So, it's riding high in the market. Be on the crest of a wave. When you are at the crest of a wave, just like imagine that you are a surfer, and the surfers usually catch waves. So when you catch waves, this means that you need to be at the crest of a wave. The crest here means the top of the wave. When you are at the top of the wave, this means that you are riding it or you are handling it very successfully. So for example, our products are very successful. We are on the crest of a wave right now. This means that we are on the top of our game, just like we say. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this is our last slide. Here we are going to talk about our assignment for this session. Your assignment is just like we discussed here, different companies, and we discussed the failures and the turning points that appeared in different companies and how did they deal with it and how that affected their sales in the high in the highway or in the future. How that affected a successful company to lose some money because of not we don't have to say stupid mistake, but somehow a cultural mistake or a mistake which they overlooked. Okay, so what I want from you is you're going to choose a moment of failure or success of your favorite company, and I want you to answer these questions. While we are answering these questions are going to help us to speak. So while we are speaking, try also to use some idioms in your speech, just like we talked about, the idioms that we talked about. So the questions that you're going to answer, the first one, what was the moment? You can choose any company you already know. You can Google them, find the companies that you are interested in, try to find more information about it, try to find the highs and lows of this company, and just find one moment that is interesting, either a failure moment or a failing moment or a success moment. You choose. So, and you answer these questions while you are speaking. What was the moment? How did they deal with it? And how did it affect their success? So, if it was something a successful moment, so how did that affect their success? So, they succeeded more, and how much more, and so on. So, I want you to record an audio about this speaking, about this task. You're going to record an audio from 3 to 4 minutes. I know this is it's not gonna be difficult for you because you've been sitting a long time and you didn't practice English a lot. So it's a good idea to record your voice in a short audio, and you can send it to me on WhatsApp. Try to record it as many times as you can, and try to organize how you are going to speak and what are the different things you're going to talk about, to organize your speech. And it will be fun to listen to yourself speaking in English, because it's been a long time since you practiced English. So I will be looking forward to your audios and recordings on the WhatsApp group. Try to send them on the group, and I hope you enjoyed our lesson, and thank you very much, and see you in our next session. Thank you and bye.